The year I took top honors at the Atherton Global Training Academy, the board sent me undercover to infiltrate the Viper Syndicate. 3 years later, a rival lieutenant accused me of being a mole. The syndicate boss asked for evidence. The lieutenant stammered for a while, unable to produce a single shred of proof, before finally blurting out, "Boss, look at Caleb Vance. The kid doesn't skim off the top, doesn't chase the skirts, respects the hierarchy, treats the crew like brothers, and never does anything reckless. Does that look like a Viper-made man to you? He's clearly a plant from the corporate side." Victor Draven, the head of the syndicate, slammed his fist on the table, furious. "Bullshit. Do you think everyone in my organization is a backstabbing, chaotic degenerate? Can't we have one guy with some damn professional integrity?" 30 years later, I gift-wrapped the entire executive board of Atherton Global and handed them over to the syndicate. I was Atherton's golden boy, a prodigy in corporate warfare, sharp enough to bankrupt a subsidiary with a signature, and handy in a street fight too. But every genius has their cross to bear. I was untouchable in skill, but I committed the cardinal sin of office politics. After the academy finals, my mentor, Graves, summoned me to his office. "Caleb, we have a mission for you." Graves rubbed his chin, his eyes shifting nervously. "The Viper Syndicate is expanding aggressively. The CEO has ordered you to infiltrate them." "What?" I couldn't believe it. "Mentor, I just took first place in the finals. Usually, we send low-level associates for undercover work. Why me?" Graves patted my shoulder, his tone heavy with fake sincerity. "It is precisely because you are a star that the syndicate won't suspect Atherton would risk sending you. It's the element of surprise. The firm trusts your loyalty." I understood immediately. This wasn't a mission, it was a punishment. During the finals, I'd humiliated the chairman's grandson in a sparring match. The kid tried to maim me. I just hit back. Who knew that one counterpunch would break his arm and my career simultaneously? "Understood, sir," I said. As an orphan raised on the corporate campus, Atherton was the only home I knew. I had to swallow the bitter pill. That night, a handler in a black trench coat, Director Miles, came to my apartment. "This is your new identity. A freelancer." He handed me a data chip. "Remember, whatever happens, do not break cover. If you die like a gangster." I sneered and took the dossier. The next morning, I traded my tailored suit for a leather jacket. The golden boy of Atherton Global vanished. I infiltrated the Viper Syndicate smoothly. Every day was a walk on a razor's edge. One wrong look, one slip of the tongue, and I'd be swimming with the fishes. But talent is talent. Even the underworld, I rose to the top. Initially assigned to the street crew, I mixed with low-level thugs. To blend in, I pulled my punches and acted average. In my second month, a rival gang, the Blood Wolves, raided our warehouse. Watching my crew get cut down, I couldn't stand by. I pulled a machete and moved like a whirlwind, dropping 3 of their lieutenants in seconds. That move blew my cover as a nobody. Good. Hell of a blade. A syndicate capo arrived, eyes gleaming. "Kid, where'd you learn to fight like that?" I stuck to the script. "Self-taught, sir. An old freelancer showed me the ropes before he died. Told me to find my fortune with Viper." The capo nodded, promoting me to the inner circle immediately. Inside, I was even more careful. Syndicate protocols were the opposite of corporate rules. One slip meant death. Fortunately, I was quick. I mastered their brute force accounting and intimidation tactics, even merging them with my corporate training to create a more efficient, deadly style of enforcement. 6 months later, I took third place in the Syndicate's fight night. High enough to be valued, low enough to avoid a target on my back. Then I was sent to the Blood Pit, a high-stakes turf war zone. Half the crew died. I used my skills to secure the territory and survive. Just like that, in 1 year, I was a corps lieutenant. But while I looked successful, I was sweating bullets. The higher I climbed, the harder it was to get out. For 3 years, I funneled intel back to Atherton. Raid schedules, money laundering routes, even Draven's personal schedule. The response was always the same cold text. Received. Continue. One stormy night, I snapped. I met Director Miles in a safe house. "I told you, don't call unless it's an emergency." Miles scowled. "Are you trying to burn us both?" I ignored him. "Director, it's been 3 years. You have enough. My cover is wearing thin. When do I come home?" Miles's eyes shifted. I saw the malice. "Caleb, timing is everything. It's not that we don't want you back, but we need a phased withdrawal, depending on market conditions." Hearing the bureaucratic nonsense, my heart froze. Cut the crap. Is the firm letting me back in or not? Miles looked away. "The chairman's grandson. He has permanent nerve damage. He'll never work again. The CEO hasn't said anything officially, but..." I laughed bitterly. I finally got it. They never planned to bring me back. Once I realized Atherton deemed me disposable, I stopped pretending. Back at the Syndicate, I started quiet quitting. Before, I was the silent, efficient killer to maintain cover. Now, I broke arms and legs as a standard greeting. In turf wars, I painted the streets red. The juniors feared me. The seniors gave me a wide berth. To keep up appearances, I became aggressively helpful to the bosses. A boss goes on a diet, I eat his lunch. A boss builds a house, I tear down the fence. Poetic compliance. In a corporate office, I'd be fired in 2 days. But in the Syndicate, strength was king. Caleb, come out and face me. Zach the Hammer was shouting again. Clang. I slammed him into the pavement, leaving a dent. Omi would have kicked his teeth in. Now, I just didn't care. I hauled the semi-conscious Zach up and dusted him off. All right, that's enough. Go put some ice on that and get some sleep. Zach stared at me like I was an alien. Caleb, bro, are you okay? He stammered, confused. I'm Fine. Fighting is boring. True power is about inner peace. Zach's jaw dropped. Did you get brainwashed by a yoga instructor or something? I rolled my eyes and walked away. From that day on, the Syndicate realized their nightmare had changed. Someone stepped to me. I walked around them. Someone wanted my cut. I gave it to them. Boss gave an order. I picked the easiest job. Everyone thought it was a new psychological tactic. But as days turned to weeks, I remained genuinely indifferent. The internal tournament started. I yawned. Not going, but the boss will dock your pay. Let him. The crew was stunned. Was this the same ruthless Caleb Vance? Rumors spread. Is he sick? Heartbroken? Cultivating a new mental technique. Ironically, people fear me less and respected me more, asking for advice. I gave it freely. The bosses were baffled. Is he crazy? No, one mused. He's playing 4D chess. Retreat to advance. I lay on the roof of the warehouse, watching the clouds, ignoring the noise. I just wanted to live quietly until I died like a gangster. But my behavior triggered suspicion. Zach finally went to Draven, formally accusing me of being a rat. Boss, I suspect Caleb is a spy from the corporate side. Victor Draven frowned, putting down his tablet. Is that so? After all, having a top lieutenant as a mole would be a disaster. What's your proof? Draven asked cautiously. Zach froze. He didn't expect to need proof. In the Syndicate, you usually beat the truth out of people first. Well, Zach stammered. Look at him. He's a different person. He doesn't steal, doesn't sleep around, respects his elders. Does that look like one of us? He's definitely been brainwashed by those corporate suits. Draven didn't get angry. He laughed. Then, suddenly he smashed his whiskey glass against the wall, exploding in rage. Bullshit, Draven roared. Do you think the Viper Syndicate is entirely composed of patricidal, backstabbing trash? Can't we have one decent human being on the payroll? Zach blinked, blurting out, well, aren't we? Draven's eyes went cold as he thought about his other subordinates. The treasurer's son who dug up his own grandfather's grave looking for gold. The enforcer's nephew who burned down the archives because he couldn't crack the safe. The capo's daughter who shot her sister over a designer purse. The more Draven thought, the angrier he got. He pointed at Zach. You think being a gangster means being an incompetent, chaotic idiot? You're just jealous. Get out. Draven kicked Zach out of the office. But once alone, Draven's face darkened. He stroked his chin, thinking. Night fell. I was closing up the shop when Shadow appeared. Caleb, resting. My muscles locked. A chill ran up my spine. Draven. It was finally happening. I thought, maybe this is for the best. Better to go out fighting than rot in this hole. I turned slowly, face blank. Boss. Draven looked around my sparse apartment. Good. Minimalist. Focused. He nodded approvingly. Living simply sharpens the mind. Good, very good. I paused. What? He's not here to whack me. Caleb, there's been a lot of talk about your behavior lately. Draven's voice was warm, lacking his usual menace. Alarm bells rang in my head. Here it comes. Boss, I. Say no more. I know. Draven raised a hand, smiling like a proud father. You've learned the art of soft power. You're hiding your edge. That's excellent. This business isn't just about violence. It's about strategy. I was totally lost. Soft power? Hiding my edge? It's a bit clumsy, a bit obvious, but for a first attempt, it's commendable. I opened my mouth, but found no words. Right. Draven took my silence for deep thought and nodded. The Syndicate needs a genius like you. The thugs who only know how to pull triggers won't last. He stood up and clapped my shoulder. From today on, you are the underboss. My second in command. What? I was genuinely shocked. Underboss? That was one step below the throne. Draven watched my stunned face. What, not happy? I accept, boss. Draven laughed. Good. I knew you wouldn't let me down. After he left, I sat alone in the dark. I thought back to Atherton. I was a star, and they threw me away for defending myself against a nepotism hire. Now the bad guys were handing me the keys to the kingdom. I stood up, a new fire in my eyes. If Atherton didn't want me, I'd own this city with Viper. When news broke of my promotion, Hamlet Miles contacted me. His attitude had done a 180. He was all smiles. Great work, becoming the underboss. I knew you had it in you. He gloated. I treated you harshly before to keep you focused. If you were thinking about coming home, you wouldn't have committed fully to the role. I listened silently. I had no illusions left about this man. He continued. Now I can relax. Atherton just sent orders. Coordinate with us to take out Victor Draven. When the Syndicate falls, you'll be welcomed back as a senior executive. Think about it, Caleb. An executive. That's 10 times your old rank. Predictable. Now that I had leverage, they were dangling the carrot again. I scoffed. You used to call me kid. What do you call me now? Miles paused, then laughed nervously. Right. Keep that arrogant attitude. You really have mastered the role. But Caleb, you don't need to act in front of me. We're on the same team. Team? He didn't see the murder in my eyes. Your acting is top tier. You almost fooled me. But the mission has changed. Get close to Draven, gain his trust, and then... Enough. I stood up, my presence filling the room. Miles turned pale. Caleb, what are you doing? Don't get too deep into character. Character? I stepped closer, sneering. You think this is an act? Miles realized his mistake and stumbled back. Too late. Years of brutal underground survival, combined with the premium resources of an underboss, had sharpened me into a weapon he couldn't comprehend. He was no match for me. Caleb, are you crazy? I'm an Atherton director. You're betraying the corporate code. I struck him hard in the solar plexus, shattering his defense and his posture. I hoisted his limp body onto my shoulder. What are you doing? Miles wheezed in terror. Taking a corrupt corporate spy to the Syndicate, I said flatly. As the underboss, catching a rat is just part of the job description, isn't it? I didn't hesitate. I hauled him toward the Syndicate HQ. I felt a nervous flutter, but mostly relief. Miles struggled weakly. Suddenly, I sensed a familiar presence. I looked up to see a drone descending, followed by a sleek black helicopter landing nearby. My mentor, Graves, stepped out, looking angry and disappointed. He was here to save Miles. Traitor, Graves Chautif, have you truly turned against the firm? I laughed cold and hard. Turned? Mentor, when you threw me into the fire, did you think about today? Graves' face hardened. Fine, I'll clean up this mess myself. He lunged, a tactical baton extending in his hand. I dropped Miles and drew my blade. Graves was skilled, his attacks heavy and precise, forcing me back. You think I'm still the kid you manipulated? I countered, my blade weaving a web of steel. Years of dirty street fighting mixed with elite training made me dangerous. Graves was shocked. We clashed, sparks flying, cracking the concrete around us. You ungrateful brat. Using gangster tactics. Graves yelled, seeing my style. So what? At least the Syndicate never abandoned me. My resentment exploded. My strikes became ferocious. In the heat of combat, I felt it. The adrenaline break. That moment when the body transcends its limits. Snap! A barrier in my mind broke. Everything moved in slow motion. I laughed wildly. Thanks for the push, mentor. Graves looked horrified. Before he could react, I slammed through his guard, striking a nerve cluster in his neck. He collapsed. I zip-tied him next to Miles. How'd you get so fast? Graves gasped. Life on the street is sink or swim, I said calmly. I should thank Atherton for the opportunity. Just as I grabbed them, a deafening roar shook the air. A massive armored transport pulled up. CEO Harrison Thorne stepped out, flanked by armed guards. He radiated authority. Boy from Syndicate. Let them go. His voice boomed. I looked at him and chuckled. CEO Thorne, you signed the order sending me here yourself. Now that I'm running the show over here, you're unhappy? Thorne's face turned purple. I sent you to gather intel, not to defect to the competition. Ha ha ha. I laughed loud enough to echo off the buildings. CEO, that's rich. Miles told me explicitly you guys weren't letting me back in. Now that I have value, you want me to turn around? Sorry, I don't buy it. Thorne was furious. He signaled the attack. Thorne was a legend in the industry for a reason. His combat skills were military grade. He charged, and the pressure was immense. Every punch felt like a sledgehammer. Little rat, today you learn the price of betrayal. I gritted my teeth, pushing my body to the breaking point. It was life or death. And then I felt it again. The second break. Ha ha. Thanks for the assist, boss. My speed doubled. The world sharpened into high definition. Thorne's eyes widened. Impossible. No one peeks twice in one fight. Impossible is just a word. I parried his strike and kicked him back. Show me what you got, Thorne. Let's see what the great Atherton Global is made of. Thorne realized he couldn't take me alone. He tapped his earpiece. A moment later, a limousine screeched to a halt. An old man with a cane stepped out. Chairman Sterling. Seeing him, hate boiled in my gut. This was the old fossil whose grandson I'd beaten. The reason I was in this mess. Mongrel. Sterling spat. You hurt my grandson, betrayed the firm. And now this? I will bury you under the foundation of this city. Ha ha ha. Chairman Sterling. I was hoping you'd show up. I roared, rushing him. Let's settle the account. Sterling was a grandmaster of combat, faster than anyone present despite his age. His cane was a lethal weapon. Even with 2 breaks, I was struggling. But rage is a powerful fuel. The injustice of it all pushed me past the red line. Art, I screamed, forcing my body into overdrive. The 3rd break, the flow state. It was euphoria. I wasn't fighting anymore. I was composing a symphony of violence. I matched Sterling blow for blow, then surpassed him. No, impossible. Sterling shrieked. 3 peaks in 10 minutes? That's not human. It's what you made me. I smashed his defense, shattering his cane. Sterling stumbled back, terrified. Steroids. It must be drugs. He was desperate. He pulled a hidden pistol, ready to end it. But I was too fast. Too late. I was a blur. I disarmed him and slammed him into the asphalt. Crunch. I neutralized him. Chairman, you exiled a genius to save a useless brat. Now you get to see how the other half lives. I bound him with the others. The 3 titans of Atherton Global, CEO, Chairman, Director, were trussed up like turkeys. Thorne sat on the ground, defeated. What do you want? What do I want? I looked at them, feeling a dark satisfaction. I just want to show my crew what righteous corporate leadership looks like up close. I tossed them into the back of a cargo van. Let's go, gentlemen. Time for a field trip to Viper HQ. Miles trembled. Caleb, you can't. Without us, Atherton will collapse. Think of your old colleagues, the innocent employees. Innocent, I scoffed. When I was exiled, did anyone speak up? When I was bleeding in the gutter for this job, did they send a care package? Don't talk to me about innocence. Graves whispered. Caleb, I failed you. But you can come back. We'll wipe the slate clean. Wipe it clean? I interrupted. Minter, do you think I'm stupid? Besides, I'm the underboss of Viper now. Why would I go back to the place that threw me out? I slammed the van doors. When I drove up to the Viper stronghold, I took a deep breath. This was home now. Draven and the entire crew were waiting outside. They'd heard the commotion. The underboss is back. Holy SHD, look at him. He looks unstoppable. What's he dragging? When I opened the van and dumped the 3 men on the pavement, the silence was deafening. Draven's eyes popped out. Caleb, is this? Boss caught some big fish. Ich kicked Tornover, CEO of Atherton, the chairman, and a director. What? The Syndicate erupted. These were their mortal enemies, and I had brought them in like groceries. 3 months later, a courier from Summit Corp, Atherton's massive rival, arrived at Viper HQ. He bowed to me. Underboss Vance, your reputation is legendary. Cut the small talk. The courier nodded. Summit and Atherton have been at war for years. With their leadership indisposed, we made our move. We've acquired Atherton Global. It's over. He handed me a heavy, ornate box. A gift. The head of the chairman's grandson. To show our sincerity. Summit Corp was just as ruthless. They were swooping in like vultures. I took the box. Inside was the grim, severed proof of Justin Sterling's demise. It was gruesome but fitting. Good work, I said. Summit is welcome to do business with Viper. The courier beamed and left. I took the box to the basement holding cells. The 3 Atherton executives were chained to the wall, stripped of their fancy suits. Graves and Thorne looked broken. Sterling was still defiant, glaring at me. I brought you a present, Chairman. I opened the box. When Sterling saw what was inside, he broke. No, no, Justin. He lunged against the chains, screaming like a wounded animal. My boy, my boy. His mind snapped. He began to laugh and cry hysterically, descending into madness. Thorne and Graves went pale. Atherton was truly dead. Caleb, what do you want? Thorne asked, voice hollow. Revenge is done. What now? Grave choked up. I am sorry, Caleb. If I could do it again. Too late. I shook my head. Missed the boat. I was silent for a moment, then smiled. But I am a generous man. I'm giving you an opportunity. Hope flickered in their eyes. Summit Corp just destroyed your company. You hate them, right? They nodded frantically. Good. I'm sending you 2 to infiltrate Summit Corp. What? Familiar mission, right? Thorne and Graves looked like they were going to be sick. I was doing exactly what they had done to me. We'll do it. Thorne gritted his teeth. Anything to live. Graves nodded, defeated. I unlocked their chains. They agreed, trembling, and I had them smuggled into Summit Corp's hiring zone that night. As they walked away into the shadows, I heard Thorne whisper, Graves, we bide our time. We climb the ladder, then we turn on Vance. He's strong, but together. I laughed softly in the dark. Sound, Otzi, you think I'm an amateur? I'd injected them both with a slow-acting neurotoxin. If they didn't check in for the antidote, they'd find out what real pain was. I turned back to the cell, where Chairman Sterling was still gibbering at the box. All right, drop the act, I said. Sterling flinched. How did you? Bang. I put a bullet in his forehead. I turned and walked away. I invented the game you're trying to play, old man.